Music and dance exists in every single culture around the world. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, music and dance will have a special place in your life. And the reason that music and dance is so profound is because it makes us feel. Have you ever cried listening to your favourite song? Have you ever felt euphoria on the dance floor? We are taught in this society not to feel. We are taught to just get on with it, no matter what's going on, stiff upper lip, don't worry, and we push it down. And so because we're not taught to feel, we're also not taught how to release. And we have to release. And my journey took me into discovering how to use music and dance as medicine. In 2019, my body crashed. I became seriously ill, and I was in the box of mystery illness. And this is a place that people find themselves in now more often than not. Loads and loads of symptoms, no real understanding of why. Syndromes are being diagnosed as labels. My hair was falling out in massive clumps. I had sores and acne all over my skin. I couldn't eat anything. My stomach was distended. I had pain all over my body. And I was so fatigued, I couldn't even stand up to shower. And this was just a few of the things that I was going through. Now, Western medicine for me was not an option. The resources that they had weren't available. They couldn't find what was wrong. So I had to go and find out what was wrong myself. And this led me on a journey of discovery. It took me across to Mexico, where after raising money, I was accepted into a hospital that uses a combination of Western medicine alongside integrative approaches, so holistic, where they look at the mind and the body. And when I got there, they found that my immune system was pretty much non-existent, and I had a bacterial and a viral infection that was affecting my joints, and it was affecting my lungs. And I was in a place of understanding at that point that this was going to be a marathon, not a sprint. There was no quick fix, and I was going to have to do a lot of this work myself. So when I left this hospital, I ended up going to the jungle. And in the jungle, I was working with shamans, plant medicines, and other healing modalities. And that's where I really started to understand the connection between the mind and the body. Now, the mind and the body connection is not something that we are taught in this society, but it is everything. And the reason it's everything is because stress is the connection between the mind and the body, and we are not taught about stress. We hear it all the time, oh, it's just stress. It's just stress, don't worry. But stress is the #1 killer in the world. It is attached to every single illness and disease. And so where we're told this by colleagues and family and friends and even health professionals, it's not giving us a clear enough insight into what stress is doing to our body and also to our mind. And there are people now, such as Dr. Gabor Mate, an amazing mind, who is teaching the world in a much more in-depth space about how damaging stress and trauma is on the mind and the body. And I have no doubt that for me, it was a huge impact as to why my body crashed. Now, when I was ill, I disconnected completely from dance and music. And I discovered the power of dance and music during my recovery. So in 2020, we had the pandemic. Resources were scarce, not just for me, but for all of us. And so I found myself having to deal with really severe PTSD. I was having flashbacks, nightmares. My body was just shutting down, essentially, at any type of overwhelm. I just couldn't really cope. And so one day I just made a promise to myself that I was going to get up every day and I was going to dance. So just one song, that was it. Just one song a day. And so I did. And I started to see and feel, more to the point, that my body and my mind was really responding to this my symptoms started to subside, and I really started to see these benefits from this one consistent practice. Now, before I was sick, I had an amazing career in the music industry. I had made my passion my job. So when I was younger, I was an athlete. When I was a child into my teenage years, I played football to a very high level. I played for Tottenham. I played for my county. Women's football isn't what it is now back then. When I was 16, I broke my foot. And suddenly I had a lot more time to explore other passions, other things. And I started going out. I had my weekends free. I wasn't training. So I started going out. I started going raving, and I fell in love with electronic music. And this place, this dance floor, week in, week out, different clubs, different spaces, festivals, it became my happy place. It became my place where I was able to feel what I needed to feel and just dance. I connected to other people within these communities. And I really started to understand that actually what was going on, even though I wasn't conscious of it, we were participating in ceremony. Dance made me feel alive again after so much trauma. Dance made me feel joy again after so much trauma. And that's why I decided to look at this more in detail. So I lived in Mexico for a while, studying with indigenous people over there, looking at the different traditions that use dance and music as a healing modality, specifically in community and ceremony. What I discovered was really quite profound because the dots started to really click for me. In Mexico, as an example, you have the sun and the moon dance. In Brazil, you have Umbanda and Candomblé traditions that are taken from West African traditions. And in Africa, where all of this work originates, you have the most ancient tribes in the world, the Bushmen of the Kalahari, stating, you cannot heal your trauma without dance and rhythm and music. And I started to really understand that rave culture and festival culture, we're doing the same thing. As long as you remove the hedonism, it's the same thing. We're searching for connection, we're searching for community, and we're allowing ourselves to go into safe spaces to just feel what we need to feel and dance it off. I was also really fascinated by the science because in the West, we sometimes need the science. It's what we're like. So I started to dive into the science, and what I found was amazing. The premise of dance, when you're doing it without choreography, is you're just allowing your body to move to the music. You're letting your body to take over. What they were looking at in regards to animals in the wild was essentially a similar concept. When we look at the nervous system is what activates us into fight and flight and other responses. When we're going through stress, we're going through trauma. And the nervous system responses in animals who go through trauma on a daily basis is different to that of human beings, purely because they have mechanisms that allow them to shake this stuff off. So when we look at the predator-prey dynamic, every single day, you have a zebra, for example, that is chased by a lion who then will continue to go out and eat and drink with no problems because they complete their cycle of stress within that moment. Humans do not. Humans internalize our stress, we internalize our trauma, we let it sit. Instead of actually using this one biological mechanism that we have, animals shake off their stress. They go and find a safe space and they let that physiological response release. So what I sort of started to realize during this process was, well, that's what we're doing on the dance floor. We're shaking off our stress and we're shaking off our trauma. We're just not conscious of it. When we're not looking at choreography and we're just letting our body move, It is a trauma and stress release method. And meditation is another thing that I started to look at, because this is the mind and the body connection. And meditation is anything that brings you into the present moment. And dance is one of those things. Instagram may show you a different reality of that. Sitting lotus pose, legs crossed, still and silent. That's one way, 100%. But there are many other ways that you can meditate. It's anything that brings you into the now. And your body is always in the now. Your body is always in the present. And that is why your body is a gift. And you can work with that. And that's why I created my method, Movement is Medicine. It's a method that uses meditation and dance and music to help people come into the body, into the now, out of the mind, to release. And that's what we're going to do. So you're going to join in with me, if you will. I'm going to guide you through a very short little practice of what my method is about. So I would like you all, please, to close your eyes. Keep your eyes closed for as long as you can. You will feel the effects much more stronger. And I want you to just start to tap your feet on the floor. And I want you to just start to notice, as you're tapping, the sensations. How do your feet feel as you're tapping them on the floor? And now I want you to bring your hands, and I want you to tap your hands on your thighs. Same thing, just pay attention to your body. How does it feel as you're tapping? How is your body today? Move up to your chest and just start to tap your hands on your chest, where your heart is, and just ask yourself that very simple question: how do I feel? And moving lastly to the top of the head, and just start to tap on the top of your head. And again, just notice how that feels as you're tapping. Notice the sensations. Notice how your body is responding.
Ay, ¿cómo hago para tener aquellos ojos que me
ven? To bounce on your toes with keeping your
Ay,
eyes
¿cómo
closed.
hago para tener
And as the music comes in,
aquellos labios
allow your body let's go.
Ay, ¿cómo hago para tener aquellos ojos que me ven? Ay, ¿cómo hago para tener aquellos labios que besé? Ay, ¿cómo hago para volver a ese camino que se fue? Ay, ¿cómo hago para volver a aquel lugar que no olvidé? Una ola se avecina, un secreto de tu llanto. Si tuviera una atarraya, yo te traigo pa' mi brazo. Amor intacto no conozco, pa'l infierno no hay temor. Si no asumes tus pecados, hoy por ti enfrento tu error. Ay, ¿cómo hago para tener aquellos ojos que me ven? Ay, ¿cómo hago para tener
Thank you for participating. My message to you is simple. You can do this in your day-to-day life. You don't have to wait to go to therapy. You don't have to wait to be told. You can create a safe space in your home where you can release from your mind and your body. You can let your primal urges come out, because the only thing that's keeping you shackled is your mind. The only thing that is keeping you stuck is your mind. The body wants to release, and all you have to do is let it. And that is why movement is medicine. Thank you so much.